It's time for day 4 of my favorite demos from NextFest of June of 2026. We have even more amazing demos of all varieties, shapes, and sizes for you to enjoy. We're starting things off with Silver Pines. This is survival horror adventure. You play detectives come to a nice and peaceful town in order to find a missing rocker. But when they arrive, a storm is coming. There's strange monsters around, and we are going to have to solve this mystery through gun and sleuthing. The game definitely draws homages from the likes of Silent Hill, Twin Peaks, Alan Wake, and any other spooky and supernatural game or property that takes place in a small town. Your general progression will be exploring the various places, solving puzzles, and getting to basic combat. The fighting in this one is kept relatively simple. You have a melee and range options. Your melee weapons have durability to them, and you can charge them for either a light or a heavy swing, and you have an amazing dodge that you can use to avoid attacks from all sides. You'll have to solve puzzles by finding out the information, doing light little mini games, and just seeing what the strange town has to offer. I really like the art style of this one, especially the comic book look that's done during the cutscenes. It's hard to tell from the demo how much harder the full game is going to be. Weapons or your melee weapons do break relatively fast, as long as you have enough duct tape in order to repair them, but the dodge is able to get around most threats, and enemies will not kind of transition from screen to screen, at least not from what we saw in the demo. But this is still a very spooky and very stylish take on survival horror, and a very easy recommendation for any survival horror fans looking for a small town mystery to dive into. It's Souls-like time for our next game with False Hero. When, surprise, surprise, the world is falling under a mysterious curse that's causing everyone to lose their minds, it's up to us to save the day, with sword and surprisingly very effective books to throw at people. So this is once again another Souls-like with kind of the aesthetic and vibe of like a early to mid PlayStation 2. You will explore the world, get into fights, use your quote-unquote Estus flask to heal. But what the game does is there are some very interesting changes under the hood in terms of how combat plays out. The game is heavily built on being aggressive, and at times it gives me a similar feel to that of playing Bloodborne. In this, there is no block, you must dodge all your attacks. And in a very surprise twist, your primary weapon is not your primary means of attacking. Smacking enemies with your sword will build up focus. Focus is the purple bar at the top left, and this is used to activate combat arts. Similar to, I believe it was in Code Vein, and if anyone can correct me on this one, there was Souls-likes in the past where you could use enemy attacks to aid you. And in this one, the combat arts you'll acquire from defeating enemies and bosses. And they do far more damage as well as far more stagger compared to your normal attack, as a very welcome change. When you hit an enemy with a character or a combat art, you can animation cancel out of it to chain multiple combat arts together. And because combat arts also give you focus back, it allows you to set up these kinds of just like frenzy attacks on enemies, just transitioning from combat art to do massive damage and keep them stun locked during the length of it. And again, this is a game that is not designed, or it does not want you to be passive. There are, at least from what we saw in the demo, no equipment in terms of armor. You do find pieces of clothing, but they don't seem to help you in terms of defenses. Likewise, I did not see the option to level up, so your healing and stamina may be consistent from beginning to end. But you are free to equip whatever combat arts you find and use as you see fit, and you can upgrade them to increase their damage and stagger, as well as reduce their costs. There's even kind of for some enemies ability to parry their specific attacks. But this one is looking like it's going to be a very challenging take on Souls-likes. And it's very interesting playing this one after doing Mortal Shell 2. Mortal Shell is more kind of like very heavy, very weighted combat. This is far more kind of flowy and faster, and it's a really great kind of change of pace. While this is definitely not going to be Bloodborne at home, if you like your Souls-likes to be more on the aggressive, very dodge, very movement-focused version, rather than just waiting around for a parry, highly recommend you check this one out, and this is another one that I am very interested in playing more of when it is released. We go to something a little bit more heartwarming for our next game with Signi and Mino against the gods. When corporations are illegally and causing environmental damage to the world and the gods aren't pleased, it's up to our pair of Signi and their dog Mino to go out there and save the day. Our gameplay involves real-time running around the world. You'll acquire new abilities to let you move around and explore more. When you get into combat, you go for a tag team affair. Now, while you cannot pet the dog, at least in the demo, you can do combo launchers using your dog. And a big aspect of the combat system here, beyond just the action commands, is that you'll alternate attacks between Signi and Mino. As a very interesting touch, the position that the enemies are in when you're being knocked around will determine when you want to use attacks. So, Signi's finisher, the big swing, can only be performed when the enemy is like right at her height. So you need to time the kind of tag team for that exact position. As the game goes on, you'll be introduced to more attack combos. You'll be able to extend the combos, as well as get more moves that can do kind of situational things, such as hit the enemy while they're in the air, juggle the enemy, slam them into the ground, and enemies will interact accordingly. It's a really great system and adds a nice sense of like kinetic or a kinetic sense to the fighting. And the best part, at least from the demo, is that when you do this, these fights go relatively fast. One combo is often enough to kill an individual enemy. And I am very curious to see kind of where the full game's going to go. This does not appear to be like an overly difficult or overly advanced RPG. So, if you are a dog lover and you've ever wanted to do tag team attacks with them, definitely give this one a try, and this is another game I'm really looking forward to seeing more of when it is released. And for the last game of today's video, we have Infinite Ruins. This is an incremental where you have the compulsion to dive and dig deep into strange ruins, and dig you shall, along with the aid of pickaxe and magical golems. The general play here is you're going to dig. As you break blocks, you'll gain resources. Resources will be used to unlock various perks, upgrades, and you should know the song and dance by now. What the game does a bit differently is that you'll get to points on the research tree where you'll need to make a decision as to what you want your build to focus on. So for the demo, you could choose between either fire or ice. Fire will burn blocks and cause damage over time. Ice will freeze blocks, causing them to shatter and do kind of like an AoE effect and spread ice around. And of course, there'll be more in the full game. I like the concept of this one, but I wish I could have seen a little bit more in terms of like how prestiging will work. What are some more of the advanced choices that you can make? And it did feel relatively good to play. And I am cautiously optimistic about this one. So if you want to watch number go up while you dig down, be sure to give this one a play. And with that, another part comes to an end, but we still have plenty more demos to cover for the remaining days of Next Fest. Let me know what you think about these games down below. Be sure to come back for more streams of indie games and for more videos of Next Fest coming soon. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and if you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.